this problem is not going away. The offensive line continued to struggle on Sunday against the Green Bay Packers and the loss 18-27. We're going to break down the statistics, what the Bengals need to do on the offensive line, and more if they continue to want to make a push for the playoffs in the 2025 season. Welcome to the jungle. This is Isaac Coffman with Bengals Digest. Happy to see you, Bengals fans. And if you want to get in on the discussion, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below if you have not already. We appreciate each one of you. We are on our way to 3,000 subscribers. Again, we appreciate each one of you and love to hear your thoughts. Fortunately, the Bengals fell short against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Now, we can point the finger all around. That's what's going to happen on losses. But for the most part, I have to say this was a close matchup. As much as ones might say there was that, it felt like momentum. The Bengals just could not find it until the second half. They came out very slow, but they made this a game. One or two plays, they could have been right back in it. And I get what you're saying. You look at the score, 27-18 is your final. But they felt more in this game than they have in the last few weeks. And a lot of it, you can say, well, that's what you're going to get with Joe Flacco, these kind of performances. It wasn't like he was earth-shattering, but he got them in this game. That's what you want. That's a guy that you need. However, the big glare of this game, if you're watching it, is that offensive line. Once again, the Bengals couldn't even give Joe Flacco the time. This was kind of the storyline going into this game was Joe Flacco is 40 years old. Is he going to be able to hold up behind this offensive line? It was kind of becoming the joke. And unfortunately, if you're watching this game, there were a few plays where they were able to hold up. But for the most part, Flacco was just running around. He was constantly pressured. And I attribute why they lost this game as much as you want to point the finger at the defense, and the defense had its struggles too. I'm not going to sit here and defend the defense that they did everything right, because there's some things they're going to have to work on defense too. But the defense also put them in this game. And the problem came back to they did not have a running game. They did not have any kind of protection for the plays when they needed to most. So it was a wild game, though. Wild game, field goal misses. You're talking about a potential record-breaking field goal that came into the mix that, due to a timeout, 67 yards, Evan McPherson almost hits it before halftime. I think there's a lot of positives in this game when you look at it. And again, breaking down Joe Flacco, his stats. He didn't throw any interceptions. He didn't turn the ball over. He threw it 45 times. Definitely got his workout. And again, I go back to that run game. You can look at the stat sheet. You can see Chase Brown. He did have 42 yards for 4.7. I mean, that's great on the stat sheet, but he was getting stopped also. There were times on the screens, on other plays they were doing. I wish they would have went back to the run game, because it felt like when they were getting stopped, that's when they went right back to the air attack. And another thing you can say that lost in this game, I will question some of the play calling. There was a few play calls. Again, a lot of bubble screens. They were not converting on those, but they kept going back to those. It's just a frustrating thing. This was definitely an uphill battle. I'm not going to sit here and say that they should have won this game or anything like that. You're talking about a backup quarterback you had to trade for this week and had to learn the playbook in less than a week. Came in on Wednesday and was at practice and still was able to put up a decent performance. Again, 2 touchdowns. Felt like he was really starting to get a rhythm there with Chase towards the end. Chase ended up with 94 yards, 10 receptions, and a touchdown. And those were tough catches. I mean, those catches were not easy. So they were there. They were in the game. It's still frustrating because this was not a must-win game. They are now going to be 2-4, but this felt like if they could have just won this game, you're pulling back even 500, 3-3, and you're heading into the Pittsburgh Steeler game on Thursday with a little bit of a little more of a cushion. Now that Steeler game is that much more of a weight to it. So you're talking the standings aren't updated currently, but the Ravens did lose also. The Ravens are the surprise division team that who would have thought, right? This is just one of those years where the AFC is wide open. I know this is a tough loss, Bengals fans. It's just never a great day when you see the Bengals lose, especially when there was opportunity there. Again, I'm not going to say they should have won this game, but the opportunities were there if they could have just held up with the offensive line. I'm just going to be interested to see what the PFF ratings were. The eye test, it just did not look good. It was constant pressure. And, what's the answer to that? What are you going to do? You have a 40-year-old quarterback that hopefully he can hold up. I'm a little worried. That's been the joke. Again, this is a 40-year-old quarterback that he's shown that he can get them in a position to win. He's not going to go out there maybe and ball out and throw these elite numbers, but now they have a quarterback that can at least hold down the fort if you can give him time. But yes, looking at the record, you're looking up now at the Steelers. It's just going to be a really big game come Thursday. Now that you've lost this game, it would have been nice to somehow pull off that victory. It would have been a great storyline, especially coming with Joe Flacco this week, learning the playbook. I mean, it's still remarkable to me that they were able to pull off this trade. And Joe Flacco is that veteran guy that's honestly what they were hoping for with Jake Browning. Unfortunately, Jake Browning was not doing that in the last few weeks. So it's a disappointing loss. I shouldn't sit here and act surprised. I'm not surprised because this was going to be an uphill battle. And that defense, I'm going to say they definitely have a lot to work on. The concern I see is also Hendrickson went down with an injury there. It was around the halftime back injury. So what are they going to do if they do not have Trey Hendrickson? The defense was holding up in the first half. They were not giving up as many big plays. It felt like the big plays were really starting to come out in that second half. And I think a lot of it you're going to have to go back to is, again, not having Trey Hendrickson in there. They held the Packers to 10 points in the first half. That's keeping you in a game right there. 10 points before the half. Anything could happen, and especially getting the ball back. They came down, they marched down the field, and got a touchdown. They were making it a game early. It wasn't like, oh, they came back in garbage time. That's why I say, again, it was just disappointing that the offensive line, if they could have just allowed Flacco to have a little more time, who knows? We can sit here with the what ifs all day, but man, that's one of the glaring weaknesses. This team definitely has weaknesses. This is not a perfect team, but when you see an offensive line that just cannot hold up, even if you got Micah Parsons on the other side, props to again, the Green Bay Packers. They've got Micah Parsons. They've got a good pass rush, but when does it stop? That's what I want to wonder. And the play calling, I'm interested to see what kind of overall statistics. Again, PFF I like to refer to. It's not everything. I'm not going to say that stats are everything, because when you're watching this game, you can see the momentum. You can see it shift, and it felt like the Bengals were in it at the beginning. Unfortunately, they just couldn't hold on to it. 17 points they gave up in the fourth quarter to the Packers. So the defense, you can tell they definitely wore down over time. The time of possession, as much as the defense held them to 10 points, they had the ball the majority of the time. And that the offense, again, just could not get going. So we'll see. It's going to be a short turnaround this week for the Steelers. And as we see what the injury report, again, Hendrickson is something to keep an eye on with that back injury. I think that's going to be just huge. It's going to be massive for the Bengals if Hendrickson does not get ready to go for Thursday. Not having him on Thursday is going to be a huge blow. Mike Gesicki was also out with a pectoral early on, so something to keep an eye on. Hopefully that's not something serious, but he was ruled out early in that game as well. So we'll keep you posted on the updates as they come up, but we'll just wait and see, Bengals fans. It's a tough loss, but hopefully this is some momentum. Having Joe Flacco again on this team, I think you've got at least that leader. And not to say Browning wasn't, but when you have more of that veteran that's been there, he's done that, you could tell there's a different energy to the offense. Despite, again, I go back to the offensive line. There's some other struggles, and we'll be sure to break them down in some future videos as well. But that was definitely the glaring weakness I saw of this game. I think it would have come down to maybe even a final field goal kick, that type of thing. Unfortunately, again, the Bengals fall. The final score, Green Bay Packers 27, the Bengals 18. But we want to hear from you guys. Do you think there was something else that contributed to this loss? I know there's other ones didn't touch on as much, but we want to hear from you guys. So comment below. What is your confidence level going into playing the game on Thursday night. It's going to be against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comment below. We want to hear from you, any concerns that you have and any other thoughts that you have concerning this game. Well, that's going to do it for now, guys. As we say, Hoo day.